Hello, everybody. This is Sam Serious, another episode of Greg Tech New Horizon. Now, I know it's been a very long time since I've aired another episode of that. It's a combination, again, life complications, but mostly because of me having to migrate a bunch of assets and having to set up a lot of power infrastructure. I was hoping to be able to set up back nukes. That's why I've pushed the time to make the next episode of GTNH off for so long. But things aren't working out as planned. Had to do some more expansions, which required more titanium, which then in turn required me to burn through a lot of time waiting for titanium to get produced, on top of having to deal with a bunch of base power issues. I have been playing a lot of GTNH. I just haven't been busy about airing the next episode because of that goal. But unfortunately, no vacuum nukes. If it happens, it'll happen. But right now, I am not going to hold myself back on trying to put the GTNH videos here for vac nuke here. So I got to rethink about how I go about my goals in case if certain goals aren't exactly attainable to my desires. But in the meantime, a lot has been added. You can probably look at the mini map and see what happened. But yeah, I've decorated the base. I'm using the technical blocks, specifically the worn concrete with a little bit of huge cobblestone tiles implemented with it. So I'm going berserk with chisel. I am so making a lot of use of the Unbreaking Builder's Wand. I made a bunch of support structures outside of the central heart of the base here. A bunch of buildings dedicated to their own resource processing and production outside of the terrarium. It's more organized this way. Plus, two, I'm realizing more and more, and I was suspecting this early on in the series that as I start to add more bigger multi-block structures, that I may not have enough space with the hallways that exist within the internal structure here. So I'm having to branch outside of structure, which I was going to do anyways at some point. But yep, this is a lot of the base here, pretty much expanding outwards. A lot of the assets of internal productions has been migrated into a lot of these structures. Like for example, I've migrated my EBFs into a building near my powerhouse that I built here. Well, I say powerhouse because this is my sources of fuel that I'm generating off these structures. But yeah, all 8 EBFs here, all powered by a bunch of large combustion engines. I'm had a bunch of maintenance issues with a bunch of machines that's responsible for producing high octane gas. So I had to, I'm having to turn everything off to let my high octane gas reserves build up. But I've moved my ore processing over here now. I've added an industrial electrolyzer in here. For your information, I am still late EV tier. I'm barely between late EV, early IV. I've created a secondary chemical washing plant, but this time in a chemical bath mode to work with sulfuric acid, sodium persulfate, and mercury. I'm mostly using this for ilmenite, not ilmenite, to be producing rutile from bauxite. Bauxite is a source of titanium too. So I'm getting a fair amount of aluminum and titanium out of this too as well. I should have about 19,000 root tile dust. Yeah, about 19,000, and I suspect I'll be able to get about, let's see here, about 6,000 titanium ingots out of that. Speaking of which, Ooh, 4,000. That's a healthy amount that I've been passiving through this whole amount of time. Titanium's been slow to get, but with me doing side projects at the same time, I don't mind it as much. The only reason why I did mind it is because of power expansion I had to do. So, I've created a powerhouse responsible for producing benzene and high octane gas. Primarily benzene's the intention, but this is the first powerhouse I made. I swapped off a lot of small gas turbines for large gas turbines here, and I'm going for shadow metal. Shadow metal my tier, in my opinion, is the best turbine, with me being late EV, early IV tier. Like, it's able to produce about 6,960 EUs per tick on gas at about 145% efficiency. Now, I am having these machine oh, about 4 or 5 of these large gas turbines generate power to go into the respective extreme voltage battery buffers, each storing about 16 Lapotron crystals. If I remember right, an dynamo hatch can output out up to 3 amps of its power of the respective tier. This means that I can only output at most 3 EV amps through a EV dynamo hatch. I'm still playing GTNH 2.7.4, so I have to use the buffered versions. Yeah, I got 15 amps. Act Yeah, with 5 machines, 15 amps going into this battery buffer. The battery buffer can accept up to 32 amps going into it of EV power, but and only wait, it's able to output 30 amps of power? Yeah, it's 16 amps. It's 16 amps. Excuse me. I forgot that one EV amp, full EV amp is 2048 EUs. Anyhow, this is how I've been handcrafting a lot of things with an IV machine, assembly machine there. But yeah, I've got multiple clusters of large gas turbines, EV power going into 3 battery buffers, which is then going around and supplying power to the vacuum freezers, the centrifuge, and well, the coke ovens have their own dedicated turbines. Oh, and actually, I got more gas turbines down below supplying power to these. Yeah, I went huge on large gas turbines for power generation. So I'm basically able to produce almost an IV amps worth of power, saving 45% benzene roughly. I would say roughly because 13 liters of benzene per, per tick going per second going into this here is pretty much closest to the 145% efficiency curve. I'm not trying to go high speed all the way. I'm trying to prioritize efficiency. These shadow metal turbines, I did have to replace them before, but man, it really took a long time for them to get extremely low on durability. Now, if I were to be able to produce nitrobenzene, I'd be able to feed in 3 liters of nitrobenzene per second for a perfect power output for what the turbines can offer at 145% efficiency. But I ain't quite there yet for nitrobenzene due to a few reasons. I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, I got my coke ovens here. I recently really expanded upon wood production. I'll get to that after I show off my next my recent my latest addition. I expanded around. A lot of these structures are operating at an average between HV and EV power supply. A little bit of IV power, I believe. But that sucks a lot of benzene. I'm still taking a decentralized powered approach to where I'm routing fluids all over the base through the ME network rather than having a central power generation system supply energy all over the place. In my opinion, that's more energy efficient due to it minimizing energy loss by cable. But yeah, I got more industrial coke ovens working their magic in here to pretty much do the same systems like the ones in the original powerhouse I made. These vacuum freezers, all 16 here, they are consuming 4 EV amps each, all being powered by these large gas turbines. I got 3 industrial centrifuges dedicated to centrifuging the liquid air into the respective gas, and 1 to centrifuge the noble gases. I got my own subnet handling all the resources that's being produced in here, with a with another network supplying fuel into them, including the powerhouse thing for benzene. Then I got not an additional 8 distillation towers, but 16. And each 8 of these distillation towers has their own respective large fluid extractors. Now, with all this combined, I'm having to use a lot of large gas turbines supplying 3 EV amps each. Would y'all like to take a guess on how many large gas turbines in here that I plan on using to fully use this room at its potential? 64. You got it. I'm using 64 large gas turbines to supply 40 EV. Let me think about this. No, no, no. 192 EV amps of power all over the base, all over this building here. Minus the second floor. I'll get to that shortly. That is 48 IV amps of power. Now this base here, now this building here is separated at 2 separate wings, each producing about big each channeling about 24 IV amps. So these are 2 separate power grids here for this localized area because of that. That's because of something that I'm doing to make efficient use of basically maximize energy efficiency, since energy loss is multiplicative per ampere. So what I'm doing is a little bit of transformer shenanigans to efficiently distribute all of the power by minimizing loss through reduction of amp packets. Plus 2, I chose platinum because I have way more platinum than I have titanium, which will make titanium stretch even more, considering got a lot of components that are making that require titanium with MIG, whether it's with the battery buffers, the transformers, large gas turbine structures, all the energy hatches, dynamo hatches, and any other components that requires titanium to make. Titanium is a huge bottleneck here for how much fast I was able to set everything up. That's why I took on a lot of side projects in the midst of generating that. So with both wings combined, I'm producing 192 amps of EU power, If I were to be Groot and just regular TPV cables all over the place with extra patience for titanium to make. Uh-oh. Give me a second. Minecraft having a very annoying warp effect at the most horrendous timing here. Wait, I'm gonna desaturate itself before I can get rid of this. Yeah, I don't like Minecraft with this. Anyhow, I am averaging 48 EU loss amongst both these cables per meter. At most, converting EV power to IV power through transformers and then turning it back to EV power for all these EV powered machines. 48 EU loss per meter average certainly beats 192 EU per tick loss meter. This is how I'm basically maximizing efficiency without having to use lossless cables. I can't even make EV lossless cables right now. I don't want to think about IV lossless cables. So I'm basically saving thousands of EUs per tick doing this right now. Yes, I just ate rotten flesh, okay? So the only way I can get rid of that Thaumcraft debuff that's really eating up my hunger. First, wait 4 minutes for that. Up here, with production requiring about, let's see, that's what, 12 times 3, 48 EV amps. This is where I'm producing all of my nitrobenzene in. Now I'll stop for a moment because, well, I pretty much have all the nitrobenzene made in the world right now. So I don't want to expand on it yet until I maximize sulfuric acid production. I'm finding myself being very bottlenecked on sulfuric acid right now, but I basically have a bunch of nitric acid being produced with these LCRs to go into that. I'm producing distilled water from this here. And then I'm cycling the diluted sulfuric acid as a byproduct from nitrobenzene back into these distillation towers to create more sulfuric acid. So I think it might be possible that I can do this as a closed loop system fully. I'll have to see how much sulfuric acid I get back from this. If I'm able to get all the sulfuric acid back from those LCRs from the diluted sulfuric acid, then I'll go ahead and proceed to isolate sulfuric acid loop between the nitrobenzene LCRs and these distillation towers. I think I got a little bit more nitric acid being produced from these, but 2 of these machines should be producing sulfuric acid upon appropriate supply, that is. And I'm basically doing the same power strategy as I'm doing with the room below to minimize energy loss with transformer shenanigans. This method will save you energy, but the initial setup is very risky because if you're not paying attention to how you're wiring and stepping up and stepping down your transformers accordingly and rotating their inputs and outputs, it might burn up a lot of cabling or destroy a bunch of machines. I luckily didn't have to deal with that kind of problem, or I was more than careful enough to prevent that from happening. But I'm not gonna lie, if I were to blow up a bunch of machines doing that, I would have rage quitted GTNH even longer than what I have with the benzene supply issue that I had previously. That's the other reason why it took so long to get back to GTNH, because I got frustrated with benzene and didn't want to hassle with having to constantly craft more things just to be at a further deficit each time. I wound up shutting down a lot of machines and letting the benzene supply build up slowly over time. That's my solution to that problem. But yeah, with this powerhouse, the top floor is for benzene. This house is for benzene and nitrobenzene. The bottom floor of this powerhouse is my petrochem processing currently. I got one distillation tower that's processing heavy oil from the wood that I'm turning into heavy oil. I am getting oil from another source, and I'll get onto that shortly here. But that's what these two distillation towers are doing, is processing regular oil into their own petroleum products. And as always, those distillation towers produce their sulfuric versions of those oils being put into the or petroleum products being all put into these LCRs to extract the sulfur out of them. Then I got distillation towers that are creating all the other gases like light fuel, heavy fuel. I think this one's producing refinery gas. Oh, no, no, no. Just a bunch of other gases that I need. And pretty much with me having infinite sources of those resources, I can of oil and stuff, I can just leave these things running all the time without worrying about any veins running dry. And I migrated my LCRs are producing all the necessary resources for high octane gas. So this is why I'm producing hog right now. I'm still sticking with my overall power strategy for benzene powering everything passive or power essential to with high octane gas being responsible for ore processing and manufacturing productions. Since manufacturing productions are not on all the time for the most part compared to the base power essentials. Anyhow, I moved the plat line from the center building to here. It's not complete yet. I really had to throw this project back to afterburner in favor of fixing my power issue, as well with me trying to make other resources convenient to really expand upon. Got to program all of the buses and all of the inputs and outputs with all the chemicals. It is just a complete plat line, by the way. This will go as far as handling iridium and osmium, stuff like that, as well as palladium and a few other rare metals from platinum. So I'm almost done with that. I'll come back to that soon at some point. This building here, well, not much here. I only have tungsten processing in here, though I am thinking about relocating a lot of my titanium processing in here and adding more infrastructure to that to speed up titanium production. So that's a project I'll be coming back to eventually here, but this is my passive tungsten production right now. I've moved my I've created a upgraded version of stone processing to passive bunch of materials out of my stone dust and stuff. I'm also using this distillation tower to produce drilling fluid. I do have a bunch of drilling fluids and pumps on the moon right now that I'm supplying through a ender tank. I will have to raise more radon to go even more ambitious with radon with the whole ender tank shenanigans, especially with me wanting to root up fuel up there without having to worry about visiting moon up there as often. I'll eventually get the radon lip going. But yeah, I'm using this to produce drilling fluid. I think I'm using this just to. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, I'm using this just to produce lubricant, and then I'm using this mixture here to create drilling fluid, which is then going into its own dedicated subnetwork. And then these macerators and a centrifuge is then create grinding down the excess cobblestone that I'm not having go through a that is not being consumed through this from this rock breaker to get all the metal mixture dust, quartzite, potassium, biotite, marble, and sodalite in. So I'm at least able to create a passive source of all these resources. A little bit of titanium from this too as well. The amount is very negligible. But the important thing is it's producing sodalite and biotite so that way I can get a passive supply of chlorine, aluminum, and fluorine from these things. It's not much, but over time it adds up despite the power demand it requires. This room is my electrolysis room. This is how I'm breaking down a lot of water into hydrogen, oxygen. I'm definitely wanting to go big with these electrolyzers because of the fact that I am able to produce things a lot faster. Actually, I want to say it's like 190% faster at 90% of the energy cost. Let me look up the industrial electrolyzer real quick. No, it's 180% faster than a single block, and it uses only 90% of EU's per tick normally required, and has parallel processing. So these are essentially multiple electrolyzers in one, depending on how much power I'm supplying to them. So these are essentially a way more efficient version of electrolyzers. With me being able to craft IV components, I went ahead and start making these things even more. These are shut off right now due to my high octane gas issue. This structure, this here is producing sodium persulfate. I'm using the sodium hydroxide method for that. This here, I believe, is gosh, I want to say it's producing chlorine. Yeah. It's producing all the chlorine from the salt water that I'm getting from the moon right now, which is not increasing. I guess this means I need to visit up the moon and resupply power to that miner, unless that miner ran out of salt water. I hope that's not the case, because if that's so, then I got a problem. It's alright. I think I got a solution in mind to have a better passive way of producing salt water. You'll see more in this episode soon. Give me a sec. I just gotta check on my episode time. Alright, cool. I'm gonna have an hour in. So, these structures here, passive glass production. I'm using this to produce glass blocks for building and machine making. And then I got this here solely to supply liquid glass. There's another reason why I'm passiving a lot of resources, which I'll get to also. I don't think I have anything going on in this structure. Oh yeah, this structure. I remember this. I'm actually wanting to create this. I plan on making this room a ethanol production room, a distillation tower in here, a bunch of fermenters in there, a bunch of brewing stations in here. This way, I'm maximizing ethanol production. This way, I can create more ethylene and speed up hog production a bit. This is my current method of rutile processing right now. It's how I'm getting all the titanium. I did make some recent upgrades with this. It is possible to have chlorine supply in the system be at a closed loop to where you don't have to have an external system feed resources into it as much. One way they have to do that is if you're dealing with a power loss that voids some recipes. But I got enough chlorine in here to where I don't have to worry about that too much. And this industrial electrolyzer alone is enough to electrolyze carbon monoxide to supply carbon for necessary for titanium tetrachloride. But it's also I'm able to do enough with this to where it can share converting magnesium chloride back into magnesium and chlorine, just to cycle the chlorine back into the LCR and the magnesium back into the EBF to get the titanium. Because to produce hot titanium ingots with the rutile processing, you need magnesium to absorb the chlorine. So all that's going back into there and all that and cycled through a closed loop fashion. And I'm having another info bus to it as well to collect all the rutile from the ME network from all the boxes I've been processing. So that's pretty much just industrial district so far. I plan on having this wing be all about industrial district right now. I still haven't decided what to do with this wing yet. Same deal with the southeastern wing here. The northeastern one is going to be my primary farming district. So I've been making use of Ender IO's farming stations. I'm able to get some of the mature trees with this here. Well, I mostly wanted the farming stations for spruce wood sapling productions here. This is 32 farming stations, each equipped with a healing axe. All of these are being supplied IV power, not IV, EV power, especially with these being mega spruce trees. So these things eat up a lot of power, even with a energizer or octadic capacitors. I am having a import bus that is feeding saplings directly from the subnet here that the saplings are being collected in, as well as bone meal being rooted in. Bone meal will speed up growth of these trees a bit, though I may have to expand on bone meal production a little bit more, which probably means more farming stations for ghostwood. Ghostwood is a good way of getting that infinitely. If industrial farms accepted fertilizer, I would be more aggressive on darkwood for fertilizer's sake, but unfortunately that's not an option. But I can at least use I think I can use fertilizer with where are those crop managers. Source of gunpowder. Why not? So I got a little bit of fuse wood product harvesting going on there. Then I made a structure that I plan on having more crop managers with. I did expand a little bit on spruce, but trying to plant all the spruce saplings for power production's sake for wood production here for benzene. It is a nightmare for initial setup because you gotta hand place saplings at every crop stick. If you miss one, you can make sure that there's no missing empty spots because it takes one weed to ruin everything. I don't want to count how many times I had to restart spruce bonsai tree sapling farms like this over time because of one piece of weed taking everything over. I'm at a point where I don't ever want to touch another crop manager again. I know I will have to do so, especially considering the fact I have to expand upon sugarcane and the flow flower. add more things in here eventually in the future, but yeah, this is pretty much my big building now. Adopting a similar style as the two towers I have as the big tower over there for Brucewood. My little slime trees here, mostly to get slime blocks. This is my manual way of getting a large amount of slime for refined glue and rubber. This is a structure here that I'm expanding on currently, and we'll add more to this. This is an important one. For your information, I tried to use the Soul Brazier to contain my warp. However, every single time I relog back into my world, the buffers are too small for the ME network to catch up with by the time AE2 system reboots itself back on per server boot. Because of that, the buffers drain out, and by the time I log in, it has no players to send the warp back to. So a bit of an unintentional thing here, but a lot of my warp here got voided out, so I'm pretty much at a reset with permanent warp right now. Back to what I was getting on to. I think I can turn these on safely now. Yep, my not industrial, my extreme entity crushers. For a moment, one's for Enderman, the others for skeletons. I have this set up to where I'm not producing infernal mobs because those require 8 times the power. I don't know if it's like 8 times the power cost to take them out or 8 times the cost to how I'll put it this way. An infernal mob being spawned in here requires 8 times the power to process. I don't know if that means by power throughput or by the amount of power required through time. I'm going to go out on a limb and say third time because it makes no sense to expect people to put in like 4 energy hatches per structure, in my opinion. I will be adding more of the extreme entity crushers. I'm fine with Enderman and skeletons with this right now. I could probably grind down the bones into bone meal, of course. But here, okay, I'm scrolling away. I want more entity crushers set up in this building. One for wisps, specifically the should have soul vials. Ooh, that's a lot of Enderman that's soul filed. Forgot why I did that, but there's like 2 types of wisps. I think one is like some sort of fire wisp, and another is just regular wisps. The problem with wisps, just regular spawning wisps, is that they all spawn infernal. Unless I got that one already. Hellfire wisps. Wisps in the nether will always spawn infernal, but not hellfire wisps. Now that I'm saying that, they might get patched out in the future. But yeah, the reason why I want wisps is because I can spawn them non-infernally and still get plenty of the Aurum Essentia from the essence that they drops. So I'll be getting plenty of Infernum and Aurum Essentia from them. It will this pretty much will be a very quick method to do compared to just processing Eldritch Guardians. Eldritch Guardians will always spawn Infernal. I want to have a set for Blazes, but again, those always spawn Infernal. Now, these are going to be my two big deals that I wanted to produce here. The first big deal I want to produce at the other side is one of them being ghasts. I want them tears. I want to make some tears into salt water to make more chlorine out of. So gas will be an effective source of gunpowder and chlorine. I guess because of that too as well, I might as well start making automated production for powder kegs for explosion compressors. Implosion compressors. I'm talking Galactic Craft here. I don't think gas. I don't think gas spawn infernally, do they? Oh, they always are infernal. Yeah. Excuse me if y'all heard that. I'll have to see if it's like if I have to kill infernal mobs in 2.75 seconds, that's gonna be a real power killer for me. That option's iffy. I might have to go for the salt root option. Or my next option to go well, I mean the next option I want to go crazy about here is stab alloy constructs. You can probably already guess why. Vac nukes. The stab alloy consists of titanium and uranium. I want to be able to break down those two together to yield titanium, uranium, and uranium for fuel processing or other structures that require stab alloy. All I need to do, and this is actually the reason why I'm still playing 2.7.4, it's because I can then still make use of the witchery potion of biome change, make the toxic Everglades that spawns these guys, and then soul file one of them to be able to customize a bunch of powered spawners with. And then I can use the stab alloy constructs to create all the uranium cells, which I will then distribute to everywhere that I need a nuclear reactor in. I do have an idea in mind of how I want to route nuclear reactors and stuff. I could see nuclear reactors potentially replacing benzene. But I still keep benzene around for other reasons. So yeah, it's pretty much main power infrastructure pretty much expanded now because of all the other support structures that I'm around that I want to passive other resources with. Big advantage with doing all that though is that it does allow me to have a lot of resources made available through time. And something that has really saved me a lot of clicking and time and effort. This wing. I have a lot of machines here. You can probably guess what I'm doing looking at the molecular assemblers. I got these structures here. I got a big network of advanced compressors, advanced tool casting machines. I got my own centrifuge, EVFs, sifting, macerator, polarizers, lathes. industrial material press, both for bending and forming. Wait, are these both bending? Oh, the forming press one must be at the other side then. Then I got my mixers to make all my alloys together for them to either go through an EBF or to convert to ingots and other means. I got my fluid solidifiers that I've already coated my patterns with. Advanced alloy smelters. Wire mills, each set with their own circuit condition to make a wide range of wire gauges. My assembling machines. And my fluid extractors. And I got one more thing that works with the encoded patterns too. I made a big upgrade to my clean room. The clean room is now completely autonomous for request of auto crafting. Is this looking good? Cool. And I added a little bit more cutting machines, circuit fabricators, and the laser engravers, stuff like that. Put these all in here. And these are able to act with auto crafting too as well. So I can now craft a lot of basic infrastructure components and all that through my mainnet of the ME system now, drawing all the resources that my subnets are storing and producing. And then I got the alchemical constructs here that are passively using resources based on what I have available for Thaumcraft. There's my node again. I've really expanded upon Sentia storage. Now I got enough of these drives to store each of the primal and compound aspects. I don't know if I showed y'all, but I expanded on my storage. Ooh, this might mean I may have to start checking my items again and voiding them out. But yeah, this is pretty much what I've been accomplishing with GTNH right now. My own auto crafting hall, my industrial districts here with all the resources that I'm passively producing and processing through my EBS, my farming district here that's processing all the spruce wood for benzene wood expanding pond. Oh, there is one more thing that I gotta show you that I did promise to cover with y'all. I mentioned that I'm able to passive oil infinitely now. I was experimenting with other options, like this pump here. I was using this to extract oil out of a big oil vein here. That did not last long. That did not last long at all. So I can't rely on oil pump methods passively for time. But I am getting heavy oil from the coke ovens that are at the back of the first floor of the powerhouse here to get heavy oil. But what I'm mainly getting oil from, though, I need to turn these, is from soul sand processing. This centrifuge here is processing soul sand, breaking them down into sand, coal dust, and oil. Coal dust I can burn out. Right now, I'm just voiding it right now. Sand, I'm also voiding, though I'm keeping that stocked up for glass production, but Well, it's also giving a little bit saltpeter. That's besides the point. But my primary thing is oil. And that's what these two distillation towers are processing is oil. This one's for heavy oil. Also, a surprisingly a good way of processing. I'm also surprised producing a surprising amount of sulfur from netherrack processing too as well. You're probably wondering, how am I able to get netherrack passively? This is one of the reasons why I come to love Thaumcraft. Nether trees. Let me get rid of this lightning storm here. So many sounds. Good thing this is not a blood moon. Yeah, back to what I was saying. Nether tree. We got a few ethereal blooms, great wood sapling, a bunch of fire shards, cinder pearls, and a bucket of lava, and all the arbor, furnace, and fames aspects in your enemy system and stuff, or by your pipe network or your sentry pipe network. You're able to produce nether saplings. You only need one to get one tree to get like 2 or 3 drops on average. What the nether tree does is that any dirt or cobblestone, stuff like that, or other stones that are capable, or pretty much any blocks that can be converted around it, it will either convert all the blocks beneath the leaves into netherrack or soul sand. I got my own vanilla cobblestone generators spaced around just right to where. Whoa, 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 whoa. All you need is a bunch of nether leaves around a wood block to convert to cobblestone. On a sticky card, have a bunch of cells stored in there for all the netherrack and soul sand. At a subnet with no chance of having all these items be submitted into the main net. This way you're not flooding your network, though that shouldn't matter if you got a sticky card though. And it means avoiding these items too as well. And a bunch of enemy annihilation planes that will instantly collect netherrack and soul sand as long as there is space within the drives. I'm using those drives as a filter for these by partitioning them through a cell workbench in order to specify filtration for the ME annihilation planes, since I can't specify filters in the ME annihilation planes. So this is how I've been passively oil through all the soul sand that I'm gathering from that. And this is also a surprisingly great way of getting redstone, gold, and sulfur. It's producing a lot of sulfur, surprisingly. So in the future, I will want to expand off of this even more. But I do think I would want to relocate these elsewhere because I'm suspecting that pollution might be destroying the leaves. I'll have to play around with that. If not, then I'll have to do something different with the cobblestone generators. I'm getting tired of having to do maintenance on that because of what I'm suspecting. You're also able to pass up endstone too as well with this setup. All you need to do is produce some end trees and get the end leaves and end wood and make a very similar setup that I have set up here for netherrack. This is how I'm getting. This is how I'm passing platinum and tungsten through endstone processing, since you get trace amounts of sheelite from endstone. Well, I don't know if it's sheelite directly, but you are able to get tungsten out of endstone. So this saves the need of having to harvest a lot of end stone in the end and passive tungsten in the process of that. Anyhow, y'all, this episode is pretty much close to an hour. A lot has been added, and I am due to add a lot of things to it in future. I uh I do have to rethink about how I am prioritizing my goals with between GTNH and Factorio. One of the reasons why I've held off for so long to make a video on either one of them, and this is not just because of me having to deal with other obligations that I have to prioritize away from the series at times, but in my last episode of Factorio, excuse me, excuse me, whew. In my last episode from Factorio, I gave word that my next episode will be on GTNH. But the combination of my struggles with power management with GTNH and trying to expand our vac nukes for the next episode led me feeling the need to postpone GTNH episode production, which pretty much put everything at a halt just to stay true to my word. I know I didn't get vac nukes going, but at least I made another episode for GTNH rather than being quiet a lot longer. So I'm at a point where if I set a goal that's too far out, I'm still be inclined to do another GTNH episode progressing towards that goal as a progress check at least. This way I'm still rolling out videos without feeling like I am being untrue to my word. So I guess I am kind of being stubbornly honest to being true with y'all with what I'm doing. Anyhow, I'll try to keep that in mind for the future so that way I produce more episodes for GTNH and my Factorio Space Age playthrough series that I've been doing. I'm not ditching any of those series right now, so y'all will be hearing from me a lot longer and seeing what other possibilities exist in either worlds. Anyhow, it's been a while, and I'll definitely be airing another episode of either playthroughs a lot sooner than how I was for the last few months here. Anyways, y'all, I will see y'all around next time on the next episode of GTNH or Factorio, whichever comes first. Anyhow, y'all, take care, be well.